I thought she needed space, I said. But Julie came back after seeing me with Mindy. When she showed up at my door, she was devastated. And now she's begging for another chance. I'm really confused about the events that happened last month. My ex-girlfriend, Julie, 29F, believes that my current girlfriend, Mindy, 28F, is manipulative and that she played a part in sabotaging our 4-year relationship. Julie and I had a loving relationship for 4 years. We met through mutual friends, and we were very compatible, especially when it came to our love for outdoor activities and running. We had similar lifestyles and supported each other throughout our time together. We even lived together for the last 3 years and discussed getting married over the summer. Everything seemed perfect, and I was planning to propose during the holidays. But starting in September, I noticed a change in Julie's behavior. She became distant and seemed stressed. It was obvious, and I began to worry. I trust her completely and couldn't imagine she'd be cheating on me, but she was spending more time alone. Around the same time, Julie's friend, Mindy, reached out to me privately. She asked to meet me in secret to tell me something about Julie. Mindy and Julie work together, and I've known Mindy since I started dating Julie. I was surprised, but I assumed the worst. I agreed to meet her at a cafe after work. Mindy asked me if things were okay between Julie and me and then told me that Julie had said she was planning to leave me soon. This was a huge shock to me. I asked if there was someone else involved, but Mindy said no. Julie had confided in her that she wasn't sure about marrying me and that Mindy just wanted to warn me so I wouldn't be blindsided. I was devastated. I started trying harder to make our relationship more exciting, planning more dates, and so on. Mindy continued to support me, sharing more things Julie had told her. Eventually, before Thanksgiving, Julie told me that she loved me but wanted to take a month-long break to live alone. She said she just needed some time to be sure she wanted to marry me. I was heartbroken. I asked her if she was interested in someone else, and she said no, but warned me not to do anything foolish. She loved me deeply, but wanted to take the time apart to ensure she was marrying me for the right reasons, not just because she had gotten used to being with me. I didn't understand this at all. I told her that if she wasn't sure after 4 years, maybe we should just break up. We had a big argument, and after a few days, we ended things. As our lease was ending, we decided to part ways in December. She got a new apartment and I kept our old apartment and just took her name off the lease. After the breakup, I was feeling very lonely, as I was not used to being in the apartment alone. I didn't want to keep on being sad and hence invited a bunch of friends for a New Year's party. I also invited Mindy. We had a good time, and my friends were doing their best to cheer me up. Mindy also mingled with my friends and it was good. Mindy decided to stay back to help me clean up and we hooked up that night. I felt guilty, but Mindy did cheer me up. Since then, we have hung out almost daily at my place. I am still sad about Julie, but I won't lie that being with Mindy does make me feel happy. She is sweet and caring. Last Sunday, we woke up to someone banging on the door. I opened it and found Julie standing there, looking furious. She immediately started yelling at me, accusing me of cheating. I told her that I definitely hadn't cheated, and that she was the one who ended things with me. Mindy was at my apartment at the time, and Julie was angry with both of us. She started calling Mindy a manipulative bitch and said that it was Mindy who had suggested she take time away from me to figure out her true feelings. I tried to calm her down and asked her to explain what was going on. Julie said that after we talked about marriage, she confided in Mindy, and Mindy kept asking if she was sure about marrying me. According to Julie, Mindy suggested she take time for herself to figure things out and that I would understand and give her space. When I said no, Julie claimed Mindy convinced her that I was too controlling to let her have even 1 month alone, pushing her to break up with me. Mindy denied saying any of that. She told me that Julie was the one with the ideas, and that Mindy had simply been there during their conversations. She also mentioned that she had shared some things with me to help me work things out with Julie over the past few months. This only made Julie angrier, and she started accusing me of emotionally cheating. Julie then told me that the past few weeks had made her realize we were meant to be together, but she couldn't believe I had moved on from a 4-year relationship so quickly. Part of me wants to believe Julie, but she ended things with me without any reason of my own. Mindy was there for me when I was feeling down, but now I'm starting to doubt her. She suddenly started talking to me out of nowhere, even though we weren't really close before, and became my support right after the breakup, even though Julie was her close friend. Am I the asshole for emotionally cheating on Julie? Should I have told her about Mindy's texts? Should I not have moved on so quickly, even though Julie broke up with me? I was hurting, and Mindy was there to support me. I need advice from someone who can see this clearly and help me figure out what's really going on. Update. Apologies for the long post, but I feel the need to clarify that we weren't blind to what happened. You're reading a condensed version of the events in just a few minutes, while we've been living this for the past 7 months. Since then, I've been messaging Julie every day, trying to reach out and talk, but she hasn't responded. I wasn't sure if she had blocked me. Meanwhile, Mindy kept reaching out, asking if we could meet and discuss everything. On Wednesday, the day after I posted, I decided to message Mindy. I told her to be completely honest about what she said to Julie. I made it clear that if I found out she had lied, I'd go no contact. Mindy wanted to meet or talk over the phone, but I insisted that everything needed to be in writing. She messaged me, saying that Julie had always spoken highly of me over the years. When Julie mentioned that we were talking about getting married in 2024, Mindy was happy for us. However, Julie started to express doubt, mentioning she had cold feet and wasn't sure if she wanted to marry me due to issues she saw in her parents' marriage. At some point, Julie told Mindy that she wanted to take a break from me to figure out her feelings. Mindy felt bad for me, especially since we had already started telling our families about the engagement plans. After the fight, Mindy said Julie was upset and told her she would never marry me. Julie only came back when she heard I was moving on, and it made her jealous. Mindy also said that I was a good guy, and hoped I would see that what we had was special. I simply responded with okay, and said I needed some time. I continued messaging Julie once a day, hoping for at least a single conversation. The thought that she might have blocked me and might never speak to me again was heartbreaking. Then, on Friday afternoon, Julie finally replied. She said she wanted to meet and would come to our apartment on Saturday afternoon. I cleaned the place up, but inside I felt overwhelmed with guilt as I prepared to face her. When she arrived, she looked completely broken, almost like a shell of herself. I sat on the sofa, but she chose to sit further away. We asked each other how we were doing, but it was obvious neither of us was okay. I started apologizing, but she stopped me. She asked me to let her speak and not interrupt. She had brought a little notebook with her and had written down things she wanted to say. She told me she truly loved me, but after we discussed marriage, she began feeling scared about taking the next big step. She thought the fear was normal and would go away on its own. So, instead of talking to me about it, she kept it inside, which ate away at her. She admitted it was a mistake to talk to Mindy about it. Now, she wanted to tell me everything directly, so I wouldn't have to hear secondhand reasons for why she became distant and eventually broke up with me. She said that her parents had a very rocky marriage, though they were together until her mom passed away in 2021 during the pandemic. Her parents argued constantly, and she always thought her mom did not love her dad. However, her mom was extremely dependent on him for everything, and her dad knew it and hence, didn't treat her well. She never wanted to be like her mom after the marriage. However, as we lived together, she started seeing some of those issues in our relationship. For example, when we met, Julie had a lot of credit card debt and was bad at managing her money. I helped her with that. Even though we have separate finances, I ended up managing all her finances, investments, etc., at her request, to the point that she did not know or understand where her money exactly was. She also said that we always enjoy making nice meals for dinner every day. However, whenever I work late, she completely loses any motivation to cook and ends up eating cheese and crackers like a toddler for dinner. She also complained that in the last 4 years of our relationship, I have never said no to her for buying anything. She feels that I coddle her, and she just got comfortable with all the luxuries and things I can provide for her. Julie discussed her feelings with Mindy, and while Mindy initially just listened, she mentioned in September that one of her cousins had gone through a similar situation. This cousin had taken a break from her fiancé for a month, and within a week, she realized how much she missed him and no longer had any doubts. When Julie asked for a break, she simply wanted to spend some time living with her best friend to see if she was too codependent on me. She knew I was planning to propose during our Christmas trip to my parents' house, and when I told her that she couldn't take a break, she panicked, broke up with me, and didn't want to get engaged without being sure that we wouldn't end up like her parents. Afterward, Julie asked when I started meeting Mindy and how many times we'd met. I opened my messages with Mindy and handed her the phone. I explained that I'd only met Mindy once in September, when she told me that Julie wanted to break up with me because she wasn't happy in the relationship. I had already noticed Julie's distant behavior, and when I asked her about it, all she said was, "I'm fine, we're fine." Due to my insecurities, I tried to hold on to Julie by coddling her more, planning expensive dates, and trying to spend more time at home. When Julie asked for a break and some space for a few weeks, I thought it was the final step before the breakup. I broke down, fought with her, and that led to our breakup and her moving out. At this point, Julie's voice began to crack. She asked me when Mindy contacted me after the breakup, and I showed her the messages. Mindy initially sent me memes to cheer me up, and I would reply with a simple, thanks, or a thumbs up. The messages soon became more frequent, and Mindy offered to talk if I needed help. She asked what I was doing for Christmas and New Year's, and when I mentioned I was inviting a few friends, she said she didn't have plans for New Year's and I invited her. Julie stopped me there and said she didn't need to hear any more details. She told me that when she moved out after our fight, she thought she wasn't ready to marry me. She stayed with her friend for 2 weeks before getting her new apartment in January. She said she was miserable and missed me terribly. It became even more difficult for her once she was alone in the apartment, and she couldn't even spend one night there. Her best friend is now staying with her in the new apartment. Julie realized she couldn't live without me just a week after moving in. On Saturday, she asked one of our mutual friends about how I was doing, and the friend mentioned the party and that Mindy was there. Julie couldn't understand why Mindy would be at the party, and she concluded that Mindy and I had been having an affair during our relationship. Julie believed that was why Mindy had tried to break us up, by constantly telling her that she shouldn't marry me if she had doubts. When she saw Mindy in our apartment on Sunday, she completely broke down. However, when she learned that Mindy was also talking to me and telling me the opposite things, she realized how naive she was to throw everything away without properly talking to me first. As hurt as she is seeing me with Mindy, she also does not want to lose me. She kept on calling herself an idiot and apologizing for not telling her concerns to me sooner. I sat next to her and tried to hug her, but she moved away. She asked if I still wanted to be with her, and I told her I'd do anything to get her back. She said she was also willing to move past what happened, but she had a few conditions. The first was that I completely cut ties with Mindy, block her on everything and never contact her again. If I saw her in person, I should ignore her completely. I was fine with that. Her second condition was that she had already signed up for individual therapy and was on the waiting list. She wanted us to do couples therapy so we could talk about our concerns and work through them. We also decided to delay any engagement or marriage until we both start couples therapy. I was fine with that as well. Her final condition was that we treat the past month as if it was just a bad nightmare and never bring it up again. She also warned that if I ever made a "we were on a break" joke, she'd punch me in the face. This was the first time we both laughed together. I asked her what she was going to do about Mindy since they worked together. She said that the biggest punishment for Mindy would be knowing she didn't succeed in breaking us up. She wants Mindy to see how happy she is with me, and for Mindy to watch as she shows off her engagement ring at work, making Mindy jealous when we get married. We hugged, and I felt a huge sense of relief knowing I had a chance to make things right. I asked her to stay, and she agreed. The rest of the evening was great. We ordered DoorDash, watched reruns of Top Chef, and cuddled on the couch. The next morning, we talked about moving back in together. I suggested we go back to our old apartment, but she wanted a fresh start and asked if I'd be willing to move into her new apartment. Her new place is much smaller than our current one and isn't in the best neighborhood, but we agreed to talk more about it and figure it out. I also have to deal with the issue of 2 12-month leases and how to get out of one of them. Julie went back to her apartment after lunch to pick up some of her things for the week, and I'm writing this post now. I feel so lucky that I didn't lose her despite the mistakes I made over the past month. I just hope I can work things out, and we can get married soon, with this whole incident just being a small bump in the road of our relationship. I also don't know how to handle the issue of her feeling coddled by my behavior and feeling too codependent on me. It's just part of my personality, and I know I need to work on it in couples therapy. Any advice on how to help her feel less codependent would be appreciated. P.S. Thanks to everyone who reached out to check on my health these past few days and sent helpline numbers. Don't worry, I'm a marathon runner, and I don't give up that easily. Update. After everything happened, Julie told me she wanted to get back together and move past it all, but I could tell she was still hurt by my actions. I tried not to overwhelm her with affection and gave her the space she needed, as that was one of the reasons we broke up in the first place. A week after seeing Mindy with me in our apartment, Julie had a mental breakdown and a panic attack. She found an online therapist, whom she still sees once a week. We also began looking for couples therapy and were able to schedule a session almost a month after the incident. We agreed to put our plans for marriage on hold until we had gone through therapy. Although I could feel Julie trying hard to act like everything was normal, something still seemed off. I stayed hopeful about our future, but it was tough watching her suffer because of my mistakes. During our first couples counseling session, we both opened up about our relationship and the events that led to our breakup. Julie apologized for not expressing her thoughts and for how bad she felt about putting me through all the drama. She explained that she didn't know how to process everything and didn't want to burden me with her negative feelings, which led to her panicking in the moment. I also apologized for everything, and at one point, it felt like we were competing over who should take more blame for what happened. There were lots of tears, but I found the experience to be very healing. The counselor mentioned that it was clear we still loved each other and encouraged us to take small steps toward being more open with each other. She gave us some exercises to work on at home. By the time we left her office, I knew for sure I wanted to spend my life with Julie, and I told her. She said the same, that she couldn't imagine her life without me. We decided to continue with our wedding plans. Mindy tried to reach out to me multiple times, but Julie blocked her on my phone and all social media. Mindy also messaged Julie with some nasty comments. The worst part came 15 days after the incident when Mindy started posting pictures of me and her on Instagram every day, some of which were intimate, though not nude, and this caused Julie a lot of pain. Julie reported her to HR and, after a month, got transferred to a different department with a promotion. The last time I heard from Mindy was when she sent me a long email to my work address, but I deleted it without reading. The photos Mindy posted caused a lot of drama, and we had to explain the situation to our family and friends. As you might guess, I was quickly voted the Idiot of the Year, though I'm sure my sister will give me a run for that title before the year ends. After a month, the situation died down, and we never heard from Mindy again, allowing us to move on with our lives. Julie has been working with her therapist on her issues with codependency, which I believe may stem from childhood trauma. The therapist thinks these issues were likely magnified after her mother's sudden passing. I've been trying to help Julie take a more active interest in our finances. I even recommended the Ramit Sethi podcast, but she tends to avoid conversations about money and quickly changes the subject. I managed to break the lease she had signed by paying a penalty, and we stayed in our old apartment for a while. However, Julie wanted to move out due to the negative memories attached to the place. A few months ago, we bought a single-family home in a nice suburban area, and we moved there in May. I still don't think her codependency is fully resolved, and it may have even worsened after everything that happened. But I love her and will always be there for her when she needs me. Now for the big update. Julie and I got married last Saturday in a beautiful, intimate ceremony at my father's country club. All our loved ones were there, and it was an evening I couldn't have asked to be any better. I wish I could share pictures of Julie in her wedding dress because she looked absolutely stunning. We're planning to leave for our honeymoon next week, and I'm beyond thrilled with how everything turned out. In 25 years, I hope Julie and I will look back on this incident as just a small blip in our otherwise perfect life.